It's January 3rd, 2026, and it has been reported that the US has captured or arrested the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. And ladies and gentlemen, the reports that are coming in is that there was strike on the capital, there were strikes on military facilities and so forth, and the president was flown out of the country, according to reports. There is a picture circulating online. We can't verify that, but the question is, what is the end goal of this? The president have been captured. I don't know if this is to seek, well, it is to seek regime change. It is probably to cause the collapse of the government. But so far, that has not happened. I think the defense minister came out and made a statement. The interior minister came out and made a statement as well, and also the vice president. So if the goal of this is regime change, so far it has not achieved what they want to achieve or wanted to achieve. So how did this happen, and what is the end goal of this? There are a few things we have to look at. This could signal possible internal sabotage, internal collusion with these forces that came in and do that, the US forces. But also, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen something like this happen before, where the president, the revolutionary president, Hugo Chavez, was kidnapped by a certain section of the military. So internal collaboration, internal traitors colluding with imperialist forces is not a far-fetched idea. But what is key is that these people don't have control on the ground. So far, from what we've seen, if the goal is regime change and so forth, we see strike on military bases, which, in a sense, what does this accomplish? What does this accomplish? Uh, like I said before, with the strike on Nigeria, they like shocking headlines. They like to cause shock. That is their whole philosophy, I believe. And one of the reasons why things like this will continue to happen is that, like I said, we're in the age where imperialists doesn't cannot afford the mask of, what they would call like subversion, like color revolution and so forth against certain opponents. So, for example, in Nepal, they did the color revolution, and I suspect what they did in Madagascar and so forth, and also in Bangladesh earlier. And we saw different places they tried it in Mexico and so forth. Question is, who controls the resource, who control the ground in Venezuela? And I believe so far anything can change. So far we believe that, so far we can see that it's the same people, the revolutionary government in Venezuela, control the situation on the ground. Though this could be internal, there could be internal collaborators, but still, the imperialists operate on this notion: if you take the head of the snake, everything will collapse. The body will collapse. And I believe that in some places that work, where the government or the government of the day is not necessarily a revolutionary government, and the government is not supported by the people. As an example of that is in Syria. The Bashar al-Assad regime collapsed in basically a few hours with an attack launched by these Al-Qaeda forces with internal collaborators again. And again, it's early in the morning, January 3rd. We haven't seen, we don't know the full situation yet. But like I said, these people love shock. They love surprise. They like this big headline, more for political win domestically and so forth. You kidnap the president of Venezuela. You have arrested the president of Venezuela. Then what? I'm sure the Venezuelan state is not going to collapse because the president has been arrested or taken out of the country. So this can be a political win domestically to appeal to a certain audience. Like I said, everything is very symbolic that a lot of these people do. Remember the strike on Nigeria? It happened on Christmas Day. They wanted to appeal to a certain demographic, whether it's in Nigeria or domestically here. So what has this achieved? The state of Venezuela, has it collapsed? Has there been panic and so forth? So we don't know what it is. And we heard that civilians lost their life, military has lost their life. So nothing would justify something like this, in my opinion. I'm sure I'm allowed to have an opinion. What would justify something like this? There's a lot of talk about international law. International law for people in the global south never existed. Whether it's in Africa, it's in Latin America, it's in Asia, and so forth. Remember, before the so-called New World Order, which began in 1945, majority of the world was colonized. And at the time, before the United Nations came about, we had the League of Nations, which is control, which was made up of European empires, dominated by empires, because the rest of the world was colonized. Ethiopia, funny enough, Ethiopia was part of the League of Nations. And when Italy invaded Ethiopia, occupied Ethiopia, and allied millions, probably thousands, probably millions of Ethiopians, the emperor at the time protested, but he was basically laughed at. So people in the global south never receive any justice, and we live in a world today which is the jungle. Might equal what right. And I think a lot of states around the world have to take, not just state, a lot of people around the world have to take this into account. And this is why we push for unity among oppressed people, whether it's in a country, whether it is on the African continent. That's why we push Pan-Africanism. Because unity, Venezuela, you see Venezuela down there. Venezuela was isolated. It could be targeted. Yes, the president of Colombia made a few statements. So the president of Brazil, who I think is basically spineless, he cannot do anything. So the question is going further. One of the things when something like this happen, everybody is shocked. Everybody starts, oh my gosh, we can't believe this. But no event lasts a day. It's like you get hit by a hurricane. Yes, the hurricane is short, but the after effect of what happens, the most dangerous part of the hurricane is not what happened the day or the 2 days of the hurricane. It's what comes after, the disaster, the after effect that comes afterwards. So yes, this sounds very shocking, but what is going to happen in the next 6 months, 3 months, 4 months? This might be a political win to certain people, but the rest of the world will have to will wake up to something like this and realize, hey, we have to protect ourselves. Not meaning that if you lead us for who will take over, and I believe in Venezuela, there are a lot of people who will be able to take the place of Maduro. And let's face it, Maduro wasn't the most charismatic guy. He's not like Hugo Chavez. And I think if these people don't succeed in regime change, which I don't believe, judging from what I've seen, the person that will come after Nicolas Maduro, maybe not immediately, but those who will come after Nicolas Maduro will be a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Probably a more radical, revolutionary, use that term. And this won't be good. Venezuela it's a big population, it's a big country. And yes, they've captured the president, but we'll see what this makes. And this goes to especially the revolutionary leaders in Africa. You have to take precautions to protect your nation. Imperialism have failed in the sense that, hey, let's take the example in the Sahel. Their mercenaries is done, so of course they will switch to this mode of overt um, operations where they will first demonize a leader and so forth, accuse them of all kinds of stuff. But to take out a leader in today's age is not necessary to take out revolution. That's not how revolutions work. Revolutions start with the people. So taking out a leader doesn't end revolution in a country or a people. And we hope the situation doesn't devolve in a sense where there's something like a civil war in or civil conflict in Venezuela. And we hope that the people of the country of Venezuela remain stable and mobilized to get over something like this.